and they'll say, well, you should be doing it for free because all you have to do is get up there and talk. And I'm like, and this happens all the time, why don't you do it for free? It's a charity. And I'm like, you're serving food? Yes. Is the chef getting paid? Of course. Are the servers getting paid? Yes. Did the farmer get paid? Yes. The guy who's going to mop the floor afterwards getting paid? Yes. The electric company's getting paid? Yes. So, but I'm the reason people are coming, and I'm the one who's supposed to work for free?
This is Amigos PC. If you were looking for a highbrow, fancy, smart, regal podcast with hosts that love to talk about horse riding, badminton, and trips to the vineyard, you're in the wrong place. This is Amigos PC. If you're looking for drinking, random nonsense, stunts, shenanigans, and balls out craziness, you've hit the jackpot. This is Amigos PC, and this is Scott and Mark.
We are live. Amigos PC. We have our special guest, Shaun Eli, New York comedian, corporate comedian. If you could just give us a little background of, how you got to be a comedian, what your interest in comedian is, and just tell us a little bit about yourself, Shaun.
All right. Well, I describe my job as standing on a box talking to a stick. That's pretty much what a comedian does. I think I have the greatest job in the world. Except when I can't talk. I'm not on stage. I have the greatest job in the world. I make people laugh, and I get paid for it. And I started because somebody talked me into taking a comedy class. I said, I don't want to perform. And she said, just take the class. Took the class, started performing, and a few years later said goodbye to the day job, and now this is what I do.
Wow. What line of work were you in before you decided to go full-time as a comedian?
I was a banker, which I described my job as shouting numbers into a phone. It's a little more sophisticated than that, but I think that's a reasonable description of it.
Yeah, I mean, we have a similar background. We have been in the mortgage business for quite a while.
Yeah, many moons.
So I guess we can relate on that. So when you decided to make the leap, you went through this class. What was the class like? And like what stood out that you were like, all right, I'm leaving. I'm going in full time.
Well, I think a lot of clubs and a lot of places offer comedy classes, and they're all pretty similar. It's you come in, you try to write some jokes, the class critiques you, the instructor gives you some pointers, talks to you about how to construct a joke, how to tell a joke. You do that a few times, and then you have a graduation show, which is basically in a comedy club in front of friends and family of the people in the class. And then you go from there. And nobody starts out as a good writer and a good performer. Some people start out good at neither one. I started out as a good writer, knowing my jokes were good because I've been writing comedy for a long time, but knowing that my performance would be terrible. So I just mainly worked on getting better at telling jokes.
Okay.
That's awesome. What made you get into it? I don't know if you touched on that at all. Like, I know you said you take a class.
She was hot.
Oh, nice.
She'd actually taken the class, so she knew what she was talking about.
Nice. So it might have been a fellow person yelling on the phone, banker, maybe that you worked with that was taking the class, and then you joined?
No, it was actually somebody I was on a first date with.
Oh, wow.
It was a weird story because we went on a first date. She talked to me about the class. I said, I don't know whether I'm interested in performing. She said, just come see my class perform. And they were funnier than I thought they'd be. And then she went away for 2 weeks. And I started dating somebody else.
Nice.
But we kept in touch. And so I ended up taking the class. And the woman I was dating was my girlfriend for, 6 or 8 months at the time when I started out in comedy. So some of my jokes are about her. Even 18 years later, I still think they're funny and they seem to work. So.
That's awesome.
What led you to corporate comedy? I read your bio and things like that, and it seems like, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Money.
Yeah, that makes sense.
When I took I don't only do corporate shows. I probably do more theater and comedy club shows than corporate shows. But you got to market yourself somehow. When I took the class, one of the things the instructor said is, if you can be a clean comedian, be a clean comedian, because there's so much more money and so many more places you can work at if you're not dirty. And my mind doesn't tend to run towards writing dirty jokes. I would say 85% of comics couldn't do 45 minutes clean. And it's too bad, because if you're not a clean comic, pretty much the only place you're going to work is comedy clubs.
Wow.
And comedy clubs, comedians are, until you're famous, or for most people, because you're not going to get famous, you're a commodity. Doesn't matter which comedian they book. The comedy club is the star. Mostly people go to the club because they know that the club puts on good shows and they've never heard of any of the comedians. But if you can work clean, you can do charity fundraising shows, you can do shows at houses of worship, you can do corporate events, and there's a lot more money in it. So that's the reason I'm focusing on that as much as I can. Of course, now I'm not doing anything except shows on Zoom and occasional outdoor show, but that's going to change.
So with COVID, and you just mentioned the shows on Zoom, like what is your feedback from what we've experienced in interviewing some other comedians? Some of them despise.
Wait, there are other comedians?
Right? If any.
Yeah.
Some of them despise it, and some of them embraced it. What is your take on how they're doing these Zoom shows and just all this internet-based comedy and paying in to get that stuff?
I'm a realist. It's not the best show. It's for a lot of reasons, but it's all you got. So I've talked to a few colleagues who just said, no, it's stupid. I don't want to do Zoom shows. My job is I'm a live entertainer. I do shows in front of people that I can see, and we're in the same room. And the whole idea of doing shows on Zoom is stupid. But it's a luxury most comedians, first of all, can't afford. For two reasons. One is we've got to do something to get paid, or even just keeping our skills up is the other reason. You got to get in front of an audience, keep it practice. If you're a guitarist, you can play at home and nobody has to hear you. As a comedian, you need an audience.
Right. That, or being able to afford the internet is also a plus.
Yeah.
For
right.
some of those struggling comics.
Well, here's the thing. It took a while. I can't speak for every comedian, but it took at least some of the people I know several months to get used to it as a different medium. Because there's let's say a 1 second delay. So we're used to telling a joke, and within a second, boom, people are laughing. Occasionally, we got to pause longer because the joke is a little more subtle and they got to figure it out. But typically what happens is there's like a seed laugher. Somebody, in a joke that isn't immediately obvious, somebody starts laughing, and that gets everybody else to figure out the joke, and then the laughter spreads. And the problem with doing that on Zoom is you tell a joke, it's a second before the person hears the joke. And if it's another second before they laugh, that's 2 seconds, but their laughter isn't heard by everybody else for another second, that's 3 seconds. If it takes those people another second to laugh, that's 4 seconds, and before the rest of the audience hears everybody, or before you hear everybody else laughing, it's 5 seconds. That's a long time to wait for a laugh. So what a lot of comics did at the beginning is what we call stepping on your laughter. They tell a joke, and by the time people started laughing, the comedian already thought nobody's laughing, I gotta continue. And they start talking as people start laughing, and that's bad. So it's really, really hard to shut the hell up every single punchline and wait the few seconds for laughter. But that's what you have to do. So it took some figuring out.
Yeah, it's a whole timing thing, I imagine, that's now changed versus being in a live situation where you get the audience, you're filling the crowd, and now it's like what you're saying is basically you're waiting for the response, and then you can kind of move on, kind of thing. That kind of stinks, I'd imagine, but at least it's something until we're more better.
Well, think of it this way: if you're a boxer and you throw a punch, you're connecting with the guy's face immediately. You're not hitting him, and then you got to wait 3 seconds, and it's like, so.
Yeah.
We're used to immediate feedback in everything we do, and in stand-up comedy on Zoom, you're not getting it. It's weird.
Yeah.
Right. Very true.
It sounds like you're also not a fan of it. You're doing it. You need it, but
I don't think anybody likes it.
Yeah.
I think we accept it or we don't accept it.
Yep.
yeah, that is
Totally,
very true. Yeah.
totally agree. You got to the nature of the beast kind of thing. You got to do what you got to do. Why it's available. It stinks. So during the, where are you located at? Are you in New York? No, not New York.
I'm in New York.
You are in New
Yeah,
York.
I'm in
Okay.
New York.
So how?
Hence, my face is shiny because it's finally sunny here, and I went out a little early and put sunscreen on, and I've got to deal with this to knock some of the shine off it. Because
Very nice.
my usual makeup person has not been around.
They're stuck indoors for COVID reasons.
So
How
during
is COVID in New York now?
yeah. How's things there?
Comedy clubs in New York are supposed to open, I think it's April 3rd.
Oh, nice.
And there are some people doing shows in Connecticut, which is at a very small percentage of capacity. It's interesting because the mayor of New York City and the governor of New York State hate each other.
Yeah.
And they've hated each other for years. I mean, even before Cuomo's scandals, they hated each other. And Cuomo is engulfed in scandals and wants to change the subject, so he wants to open more things. And the mayor of New York City is like, cases are going up. Why are you opening? Things are getting worse, not better. So I don't know what's going to change.
Yeah, we're in a place where COVID really doesn't exist. We had like temporary guidelines, I guess you could call them, beyond like a mask mandate by a city mayor or something like that. We really didn't shut down. They imposed the COVID sanctions or whatever and then made essentially everyone essential. So it was just business as usual the next day after they imposed something.
Well, you're in a warm climate, so you're probably in a way better off because people can be outside. You can open windows most of the year. But in New York, it's cold half the year, so people are indoors. That makes it worse.
Right. Yeah. And all the elevators.
Yeah.
Well, that's a problem.
Yeah.
You've got big cities, and a lot of people who could afford to move out of New York City, at least Manhattan, where they live in apartments, got out and went to their summer houses even in the winter time or whatever, just so they're not riding elevators and hallways and people refusing. I have a friend who lives in Brooklyn, and the part of Brooklyn she lives in an apartment. She can't even get the employees in the building to wear their masks, and management doesn't care.
Wow. Yeah. So here they just lifted the mandate for the mask this week. Like I went to the gym and they were like, "Oh, you don't have to wear it anymore." I'm like, "Oh, okay." And then so apparently it's like Mark's saying, it seems like it's better. So I don't know.
Well, I hope it doesn't cause more spread.
It's true.
People aren't wearing masks.
True.
Especially in a place like a gym where everybody's breathing heavily.
Right.
For the
Very
wrong
true.
reason.
Yeah, not the good reason.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, depending what kind of gym you go to.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We can't.
Oh.
Yeah. No. We can't. We gotta stop there. I can't say it anymore.
Wait,
Yep.
is somebody's wife?
Yeah. Oh,
listening?
yeah. We have to edit that out. Mark. We have to edit that out.
No, we're not going to
I'm just. I'm playing. We keep it in there.
So, do you have like a favorite club that you like to perform prior to COVID in New York, or is there a spot that you like to perform preferably?
There's a lot of places I like performing. You know, I like just being able to perform is great. Just making people laugh for a living is a great job. But I will say, I perform in clubs and I also perform in theaters. And here's the difference. You show up at a club, and let me say, you show up at a theater, and there's a guy outside sometimes with a headset. And he's like, the artists are here. And they open the door and they show you to a green room, which is like bigger than my living room. And they hand you menus and they say, let us know what you want to eat and let us know what time you want to be served. And you're like, wow, this is great. And then the next night you're at a comedy club and you walk in and they're like, stand over there in the corner of the bar. We'll tell you when it's your turn. Don't move and stay out of the way of the waitress. If she trips, we're going to yell at you. But
Yeah.
either one is a great job because that's not the important thing. The important thing to focus on is I'm going to be standing on the box talking to a stick.
Right. Yeah.
But I think my local theater, the Emlyn Theater of America, New York, is a great place to be.
Okay.
The layout of the room is nice. Everybody's nice. They've got 2 dressing rooms backstage. My biggest complaint is that the sink is not in the bathroom, it's the dressing room. Because that means you can tell which of your colleagues has not washed their hands.
Right.
I'd rather not know.
Is there any great history with that theater? Like maybe there's anybody that came up from there that maybe, made it to the top kind of thing, or that you know of?
Not that I know of. Some theaters is a tradition where people sign the wall backstage. The Evelyn doesn't have that, but I was and some places I'm like, I signed the wall right under Richard Pryor.
Oh wow!
Like that's cool.
Yeah.
And then there was a place. There's a place called the Sellersville Theater outside of Philadelphia, and they had the green room backstage. It was not a big room, and the walls were completely autographed by some amazing people. And the next time I was doing a show there, somebody had written something nasty on it, like "F.U. Pennsylvania" or something like that. I'm like, why would you write that? You're being paid to perform here. And the next week or next month, I went back and they completely repainted it. So they painted over all of the signatures they had to start over again, just because they wanted to drown out the nastiness. I'm like, why didn't you just paint over that part?
Yeah.
But all this, when you have enough people signing, all the signatures are entwined, and you can't really trace around the nastiness. So they just repainted it and started over again.
Oh wow,
that's crazy.
Well, I'm sure it was a musician. I'm betting it was a musician, not a comedian.
Yeah. Well, yeah, maybe.
Well, musicians have more to be angry about because they have to carry stuff.
Yeah, that's true. You guys just walk up there and go.
I mean,
I was on the rowing team in college, and rowers have to bring boats everywhere they want to go compete, and it's a big deal.
You have to bring your own boat?
Well, in college, you got to load the boats on a trailer, and then the college drives it. Mm-hmm. But when I graduated and started rowing a single scull, most of the time I put it on the roof of my car. And it wasn't terrible, but it was annoying. And I always looked at like runners and swimmers and said, oh man, all they have to do is show up. They don't realize how great they have it. And now it's the other way around. It's like, I just have to show up, and musicians have to carry stuff.
Yeah, so much. They actually need roadies for so much stuff.
If they're big enough, they can afford roadies.
That's true.
It's less of a problem.
True.
But if you're playing in a small club or a bar, you got to carry your stuff.
Yeah.
And
it's all on one of those VW buses.
I was talking to a friend of mine whose boyfriend's in a band, and I said, it'd be a cool gimmick if you had two drummers, one on either side of the stage. And she just looked at me. She's like, we need another van. And that was the end of the idea. It was a stupid idea, but it was the end of the idea because I was on a radio show. I used to be a regular on a radio show, and one night they had a bass player, and I don't mean guitar bass, I mean upright bass, like the giant violin. And he's wheeling it down the hallway in a case. He's wheeling it down the hallway because he's going to play it in the studio. And the hallway was so narrow, I literally had to duck into a doorway so he could get by me. And I'm like, oh man, he's got to bring that everywhere.
Yeah, those are huge. Wow, Mark used to play the cello in high school, so he gets it.
I did?
Should have played.
You
Mark
sure did.
You should have played the violin.
Right?
No, he wanted the biggest piece of equipment to play the best notes.
Right? Exactly. So
best notes, those are important.
Yes.
I know. Just the womp womp womp. I don't even think that's the right.
It sounds pretty close. That's what I would think.
I don't know. I'm not one into music for that, or I just listen to it. So with gravitating towards corporate comedy, and obviously you did that for the money. How did you break into that once you started your comedy career?
It's a lot of knocking on doors and meeting people, and I worked in business for a long time, so I had some contacts. But you get some of the leads doing shows in theaters, and I have a marketing background, and one of the things I realized is you got to keep in touch with people. So when I do shows in theaters, I have an email list. If you go to my website, brainchampagne.com, you can sign up for it. It's free. And I send out original comedy every month. And what I do at the theater shows is I say, if you sign up for my email list, one person will win 2 tickets to an upcoming show. And so I'm basically buying the right to get people's email addresses by having a lottery. And
nice.
That gets, so every month, thousands of people are getting my emails. So that's provided a base for people to say, oh, he keeps saying he does corporate shows. Maybe we should actually hire him for one. or a fundraising show for our synagogue, or for that cancer charity. He'll do a show and we'll sell tickets.
That is brilliant. That is brilliant because you're not even knocking on doors, literally, because it's literally email knocking on doors.
No, they're coming to me.
Yeah. Basically, because you're continually saying, "Hey, I do this, I do this, I do this," through email, and then they come back to you like, "Hey, let's sign you up and get you on with us."
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Although not in the last year, but I suspect.
Right. Yeah.
Well, people are starved for entertainment. So once things open back up and I can travel again, there'll be a lot of work.
Where has been the best place you've been as far as traveling? Like where you like to go that you've been and maybe return to?
Well, I've done shows on 5 continents.
Wow.
And I would say the best country for me, I think, was Ireland. I think they appreciated me the most in Ireland. But also I had adventures. Just before the pandemic, in December of 2019, I toured Australia, New Zealand, and Thailand. And I spent from Thanksgiving to New Year's, I was only home 2 nights.
Wow.
And so I was on the road all that. And it was a great trip. And I would love to, I wanted to be other places, but I didn't have enough time. So I'd like to travel throughout, other places in Asia, because it's not, I can only perform in English, but there are, aside from a lot of English-speaking countries, like in Thailand, enough people spoke English and there were enough tourists that they could have a full-time comedy club in Bangkok.
I just recently went to a comedy show that we purchased tickets for I want to say a year ago almost, and it finally, because everything's starting to open back up, he came rolling through, Tom Segura, and he had made mention in one of his jokes that performing overseas is probably one of his favorite things to do. Do you think that the audience is well versed more in comedy overseas, or what are your thoughts on that?
It really depends. I like traveling overseas. Here's how I look at it. My dad was a tax accountant. And any trip I can make tax deductible by adding comedy shows to it, I'm going to do. So there's that. But yeah, it depends. A friend of mine said he did a show in Sweden, and at this point they've had stand-up comedy for like 12 or 13 years in Sweden. It's a new art form. They just never had it before.
Really?
In Germany, yeah, it's just not something they've had. Like jazz and stand-up comedy, I think, actually, I should say jazz these days, unfortunately. There are 3 distinctly American art forms: jazz, stand-up comedy, and serial killing.
Passionate.
Yeah, I definitely serial killing for sure. That's got to be more passionate.
Yeah, but
the hunt.
But I don't think it's not that they don't understand stand-up comedy. It's that sensibilities are different, and sense of humor really varies depending on what country you're in. Like the first country I performed for a foreign to me and local to them audience, other than the U.S., was South Africa. And I figure Western country, they speak English, shouldn't be a problem. Mm-hmm. And I don't have a lot of cultural references in my act where people would say, "Oh, I don't know what he's talking about. I never saw the TV commercial," or "I don't know how baseball works." I don't have any of that.
Yeah.
But just the sense of humor was very different. So that took some adapting. But then other countries, it worked just fine. No problems at all.
It's like more dry, right? If they gravitate to something that's more off the cheek, maybe?
Oh, yeah, that is a good question. What do you feel? It's more dry, or is it, what kind of comedy do you think they feel in other countries? Or I guess it varies.
Well, in South Africa, they're a very insular nationalistic country because, as somebody explained it to me, with the boycotts that were happening under apartheid, they became a very South Africa-focused country. And with all the changes over the past 25 years, they've really been focusing on themselves. So most South African comedians, most of what they talk about is very specific to South African life. And so for me to talk about stuff that's, jokes about whatever, cell phones or jelly donuts or whatever, just didn't appeal to them. It wasn't that they thought, "Oh, that's a dumb joke." A lot of my stuff, they just didn't see what the joke was.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't understand where there's a punchline in that jumble of words you just threw at us.
Right. It makes sense.
But I love traveling, and I'm hoping to. The hard thing about the pandemic is it's not like I can. It takes me, a close to a year to set up the tour because I want it far enough in advance that I can arrange things. And it shouldn't take that long, but most things I can do within a few months, but every once in a while somebody's like, we book a year in advance. And I'm like, oh, well then I don't want to lose those places, so I'll book a year in advance.
Oh, wow.
But I can't do that now because I don't know. Nobody knows what things are going to be like, even in a year. Who knows what travel's going to be like, how complicated it'll be.
That is true.
Whether another variant of COVID is going to come back, or somebody's going to say, well, we know you had your vaccines, but you have to quarantine for 2 weeks every time you change countries.
Oh.
And I'm like, well, so who knows? So I'm not going to plan anything until this whole mess is over.
Wow.
I membership to Six Flags here in California. Well, not here, but in California. And they're starting to open up more in California too. I think they're at Disneyland and
April, I thought, right?
Yeah, April 3rd is kind of the shoot date for those big amusement parks. And Six Flags recently sent an email out to people that carry a membership, and they're like, "Hey, we want you to come back, but you can only be a California resident. We don't want anybody else here." I mean, they didn't want anybody else here, but they're like, California residents only, essentially is what they said. And it's like, wow, really? Like everybody, like you were saying earlier, we're starved for entertainment, and that's one thing that I think me and the family have been talking about. Like, we need to go to an amusement park. We need, some type of external entertainment to let loose for a little bit.
Can you use that at another Six Flags? Like, you can go to Texas, maybe.
Well, any of the main franchises, St. Louis.
It's not closer. But.
Yeah. Well, you know what I don't understand was the quarantining to say you came from somewhere else, therefore you have to stay home. Because it makes sense if you came from a place where there was a lot more COVID. Right. But the problem isn't because you came from somewhere else. It's not like, oh my God, I got New Jersey cooties, I can't spread them in New York. The problem is large gatherings. And whether the large gathering is, Californians at Six Flags or Arizonans at Six Flags is completely irrelevant.
Yeah.
Right?
It's true. Yeah, when last year I had to go to Michigan, but Michigan had a block. It was during August. They had a block that wouldn't let Arizonans to go there. So directly. So I had to fly into Wisconsin and then drive because I didn't want to be quarantined for 2 weeks. So I drove from Wisconsin to Michigan for my large gathering wedding that I went to, and then I flew back. But yes, I get it.
Well, you shouldn't have done that either because you shouldn't have that damn large gathering wedding. But
right,
I guess that's
which is weird. Which is how they were able to do it in Michigan, but that's what happened.
Well, wait a minute. Did the law say you couldn't come directly from Arizona, or you couldn't come from Arizona?
I don't know.
You drove in from Wisconsin. So
I flew So I flew in from Arizona.
They know now.
They do now. To there, and then went. Well, the phones tracked me anyway, so either way, I'm already on a list, I'm sure. But that's what took place.
Well, as long as you didn't storm the Capitol, they're probably not coming.
Exactly. I'm safe.
He's on a list now because we
talked about it. Thanks, guys.
Right. He's on the can't go to Michigan list.
Yes, that's a win.
Yeah.
So,
what if you need to get to Windsor, Ontario? Then you're screwed.
Oh, right? That's true. Because I'm not going to go up through
Detroit.
Yeah.
Who goes to Canada anyways?
Yeah. Do you like Canada, Shaun? Comedy clubs are awesome there.
You know what I like in Canada? I used to row. One of the big regattas every year was the Canadian Henley Regatta at St. Catharines. I love that, but I don't race anymore, so I haven't been there in a long time since I've been in Canada.
You're so close.
I know. You could throw a rock at it almost.
Oh, I'm in southern New York State. I can't throw a rock that far.
Oh, yeah, that is a lot. Yeah.
Besides, if I'm going to throw rocks at other places, New Jersey's a big target.
And they deserve the rocks, for sure.
Yeah.
They need the rocks. They gotta finish building their state.
You gotta make it better.
They also have
and they're not going to throw them back. They're going to throw their rocks at Pennsylvania.
Oh, yep. So true.
What else do I need to brag about or tell you guys about?
Well,
When are you guys going to get me booked at the Tempe Improv?
There we go.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, we'll make that happen. We don't have any pool like that. We'll see what we can do.
We do know someone that works
We
there.
do know someone that works there.
Oh, you know what you need to do is buy the club.
Buy the club? Yeah, we'll do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fluffy owns a majority ownership of it, so we'd have to get in cahoots with him. Gilbert
Is Fluffy the comedian?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I think
I also don't know him, so. What?
How long ago was it? 4 years ago? 5 years ago?
Yeah, he's the one that helped bring it back, like turn it around, or brought it back, because improv was not doing as well, and then I think they got new owners, and then they eventually got the other clubs. There's 3 other clubs that are all under that same umbrella here, but hopefully they're all, stay afloat after all this.
Hey, was the club that was on Bar Rescue, the comedy club on Bar Rescue, was that in Arizona? You know?
I don't think so. I mean, the 3 main ones here were pretty strong.
Yeah. We have one Bar Rescue one where they were in Tempe, but it was really a shithole near the college of ASU. It wasn't great.
That's close to the improv, though. That's where the improv is.
It was off, not that but Apache Boulevard in McClintock, so it's like less than a mile from where Tempe Improv was.
Because the guy who does Bar Rescue, I don't know about his ability to rescue a bar, but he seemed to put a lot of faith in making the green room bigger and a place people would want to hang out. And all the comedians are like, you don't make the green room bigger. You make the comedy club have as many seats as you can. If you make the green room bigger, that's fewer tickets you can sell. We don't want our friends to hang out with us in the green room.
Yeah.
We just want to get there, hang out by ourselves, be left alone, do the show, and go home.
Yeah,
it's true.
I would think that they would focus, more seating within the venue versus making a larger green room. I mean, obviously you want something comfortable in there, I would think, but it doesn't need to be spacious or anything like that. Just something where you can sit down and wait your turn or
as long as it's not claustrophobic. And in a way, I don't want a big green room that encourages comedians to bring their friends, because I don't want a bunch of strangers just having fun and being loud when I'm trying to prepare to go on stage. I want to be left alone or hang out with people I know. And usually there's only 3 or 4 comics in a show. You don't need a big group.
No,
very true.
They could almost sit outside of the bar, out of the way of the wait.
Yeah. Although there was one theater I was doing a show at, and this was a really nice theater in Connecticut, where they had a big green room and then 2 small dressing rooms off the green room. And one of the comedians called me before the show, and she said, I need a green room. I need a room to myself. And I thought, she seems normal. I know her. What's this about? Like, why does she not want to hang out with us? And I said, why? And she sounded like she didn't want to tell me. And then she's like, I just had a baby and I need to pump. And I'm like, yeah, that's a good reason.
Yeah, that is.
And then the next time I did a show with her a few months later at a different place, I said, by the way, they have 2 dressing rooms. You can have one to yourself. She's like, I don't need a dressing room for myself. And I'm like, oh, okay. I think she'd forgotten the thing we went through the previous time.
That's awesome.
That's hilarious.
What kind of thing do you ever put anything in a writer for yourself before you go into a show? Like, do you do anything crazy or like things that they ask for?
It's so everything in a contract, whether you're a comedian or a musician or a juggler or a magician, everything in the contract that you think is stupid is there because something went wrong at a previous show, and they're like, oh, we got to cover that contingency. So I don't have anything outrageous. I say you've got to serve us, a reasonable meal. And I started keeping track, because I book shows with other colleagues, of what other colleagues will or won't eat. Who's a vegetarian, who can't have gluten. And most of them are like, I'll eat almost anything. And some are like, I don't want a big meal, just a salad. Somebody is like, oh, I don't like seafood or whatever. But most are reasonable. But there's a rider in my contract that says the show will not be moved from indoors to outdoors without my express written consent, which I will not give you. And because I did a show a few years ago at a country club, and it's a country club a few miles from my house, and I said, let me drive there and see what the layout looks like. and it was going to be indoors. They didn't have stage lighting, so I had to tell them, these lights, you want the lights over the stage on and the rest of the lights off. And I said, where's the light switches? And because I didn't want them flipping all the lights on and off to try to figure it out, or screwing up and turning all the lights off, or ruining, something. So I literally took Post-it notes, and I put a green Post-it note on the top of all the light switches to stay on. And I said, everything without a Post-it note, turn off. So we figured it out, right? And set the stage over here. I described everything. And then that afternoon, they said, we're moving the show outside. And I said, no, you're not. They're like, oh, yeah, it's a beautiful night. The members are going to want to be outside. And I'm like, not for a comedy show. And I couldn't convince them to move the show indoors. And the show was on a balcony. So it was like tables, a long, skinny balcony, one table wide. So everybody was to one side or the other. There was nobody in front of us. Right. And the speaker system was one speaker. So I either had to point it left or right. So what I did is I pointed the speaker one way and then performed facing the other way, shouting at those people, and then those people could hear the speaker. And we did okay, but it was a really horrible idea. So that's why that ended up in my contract. But there's nothing in the contract that you would find ridiculous. There's no
nothing crazy, like a box of Taco Bell tacos or something like that. Nothing crazy.
Just yeah, a reasonable meal is, I think, what I have it described as.
That's good. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. You kind of hinted there or made mention. It sounds like you also book other comics with your gig.
Yeah.
So like the corporate gigs and religious entities that you perform for. So you have openers that you use and things like that.
Well, yeah, and it's not necessarily that they open for me. Sometimes I book somebody better than me and I open for them.
Oh.
It depends on the budget, really. But not so much corporate. Corporate's going to usually just be me for a half hour. But because it's complicated and people have been, listening to lectures all day long or whatever. And corporate shows are sometimes hard because everybody just wants to go home. They're like, it may be funny, but I'm tired of this crap. I want to get out of here already. It's 9 o'clock at night and I've been here since 8 o'clock in the morning. But for shows at theaters or houses of worship or stuff like that, depending on the show, there's usually 3 or 4 of us.
Okay.
Have you ever had an instance where you're dealing with a corporate situation and they were too HRE or too difficult to work with? Maybe that's a better way to put it. Was it hard to work with a company? You don't have to say what it is.
Companies aren't so bad because you're dealing with somebody who they recognize generally they're hiring a professional. So the HR person knows, the HR person is hiring an accountant, let's say. They know they're not an accountant. They may know how to hire an accountant, but they don't know how to do accounting. So they recognize I'm the HR person, you're the accountant. So those are easy to deal with. Country club, same thing. The country club manager knows how to manage a country club. He doesn't know about comedy. He or she, but mostly he, will defer to the expertise. Sometimes you got to argue about a few things, like the indoor-outdoor thing.
Right.
But for the most part, they're like, okay, I trust your expertise. The hardest ones are the charities, because you're probably working with a volunteer. They're giving their time to the charity. So already they resent the fact that you're getting paid.
Wow.
And they think you're overcharging them because they're like, you're only working for an hour. I don't make that much per hour. And you're like, yeah, but you're a lawyer. You can work an 8-hour day. The hour I'm working, which by the way is more like 5 hours because of transportation, because of logistics, because I got to be there an hour early, and because I've spent 5 hours arguing with you guys on the phone. Maybe it's 10 hours of work for the hour of performing. And that's not to mention all the people that will spend hours and hours asking questions and then deciding not to have a comedian, or the gigs I turn down. You don't get paid for those.
Right.
So it's the charities and the volunteers that they think they're experts on everything. And they're annoyed and they think you're charging them too much. You should be working for free because it's a charity. So those are the hardest. So when you're dealing with a professional, it's much easier.
So they literally try to almost nickel and dime you down because they're there for free and you're there to
I had a house of worship a I had a house of worship a few years ago, and he's like, this is all we can afford. We're a small congregation. We don't have a lot of money.
Right.
And then he started, and he's like, you have no idea the expenses we have to put on this event. You have no idea how much it costs to rent tablecloths. And I really wanted to say, you know what? Go screw yourself.
Yeah.
Nobody is going to go to your event and say, the comedian was funny, but those tablecloths, my God, such luxury.
As he pulls up in his Mercedes.
Yeah, that I don't remember. But you know what? He's entitled to drive a Mercedes.
That's true.
Paid for out of his earnings. But don't tell me that I'm the sole focus of the event, essentially. You're serving a meal. People aren't going there for the crappy steam table food you're serving them. They're not going to, unless they get food poisoning, they're not going to remember the food. The comedian is what they're going to be talking about. They're coming for a comedy show.
Right.
So, and they'll say, well, you should be doing it for free because all you have to do is get up there and talk. And I'm like, and this happens all the time, why don't you do it for free? It's a charity. And I'm like, you're serving food? Yes. Is the chef getting paid? Of course. Are the servers getting paid? Yes. Did the farmer get paid? Yes. The guy who's going to mop the floor afterwards getting paid? Yes. The electric company's getting paid? Yes. So, but I'm the reason people are coming, and I'm the one who's supposed to work.
Brilliant. That is such a brilliant way to put it.
It's basically marketing. You sit down and you're like, or risk management, what can go wrong? I got to be prepared in advance so that when they have an objection, I have an overcoming all their objections.
Wow. Yeah. Brilliant. Nicely done. Nicely done, sir.
Because of that outdoor show thing, I actually have a piece of paper. I have a document, a PDF on my computer.
Yeah, no. It's a piece of paper. It's a piece of paper.
Yeah, I have a PDF. A POP on my computer, a piece of paper on my computer that literally says
that's a sticky note.
Your show.
That's a sticky note.
Yeah. It says, I wish I had it with me. I'd print it if I wanted to turn on my printer and print it. I'd show it to you. It says why your comedy show should not be outdoors, and it lists all the reasons why you shouldn't leave the show outdoors. And after I did that, I told a colleague, and he's like, of course, the number one reason. I'm like, what's that? He's like, mosquitoes. I'm like, oh, I didn't even think of that one.
That's a good one. That is a good one. Malaria.
Yeah.
Mosquitoes. Malaria.
Well, I performed in South Africa. I had to take malaria pills.
Yeah. You probably had to walk around in like one of those nets.
In the big cities, there's no problem with malaria, but I went on a safari while I was there, and I slept in a bed with mosquito net.
Yeah, that's like the way of life.
Yeah.
Crazy.
My curiosity with our interview here, I'm very curious as to, you had made mention, college, and you were boating in college. It looks like that's rowboat, right? And then you moved into the corporate gig, which essentially was banking, and then to comedy. Like, you did say that you were writing jokes, for quite a period of time, even before actually taking the class. So what, I guess where my question is going is like, where'd the transition come from? Yeah. I guess because there's,
well, as a kid, I always, if I thought of something funny, I wrote it down.
Okay.
And just had a big box with stuff in it. Never did anything with it. And then when Jay Leno took over the Tonight Show from Johnny Carson, I'd be reading the newspaper on the train in the morning on the way to work, and I'd read the newspaper, and I'd think of something funny when I saw the headline. And then I'd turn on the TV that night, and Jay Leno would be basically telling the same joke. So I pitched my background. I said I'm a freelance writer, which is technically true of everybody. I write, and I write jokes, and I'm writing the same kind of jokes he's using in the monologue. And I spoke to somebody there for a while, and they sent me some forms to fill out, and I started sending jokes in and getting jokes on the Tonight Show. So I'd been writing jokes for Jay Leno for close to a decade before I started performing stage.
Wow.
So I knew I was writing good jokes.
Yeah.
I mean, his stuff is not stories. Tonight Show monologue is like
it's topical.
The longest, topical, and the longest would be 3 sentences. So it wouldn't be, and then you move on to the next. So it wasn't quite the same as what I would do in stand-up comedy on stage, but at least I knew how to write a joke.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So
Yeah, I was pretty happy with it.
I would say for Jay Leno, that's awesome.
You're doing it for Jay Leno, one of the kings of late night.
Yeah.
You made it. You sound, or the way you described it was pretty simplistic, but you said that you ended up talking to somebody. You had to fill out some forms. Like so essentially, was this a paid gig once you started submitting the jokes, and then like
it was freelance. It was freelance, so I only got paid when they used the joke.
When they used the joke, and how's that work?
Like, to give you an idea how long ago this was, I faxed in jokes. And for everybody under 30, a fax machine was like a scanner you hooked up to your telephone, and it sent it to the other guy's fax machine, which was like a printer.
Okay.
That made me feel old when you said it that way, because I'm obviously over 30, but like when you have to explain it that way, it makes sense.
You know, I had to yell at somebody a couple of days ago. There's a problem with my bank got one of my 1099s wrong. And I'm like, could you just give me an email address so I can send the info in? Because I know I spoke to you on the phone, but I want something in writing. And they're like, oh no, you can't email our company. You have to fax it to us. And I said, the only problem I have with that is that it's not 1994 anymore. Like, what do you mean fax it to you?
Fax it? That is, wow. Time to change banks.
I know, right?
Yeah.
And that's funny because when you're dealing with a bank and they're like, fax it over to us. Well, they're working off of an e-fax in most cases, so they're not even getting paper on the other end. It's converted to POP or PDF.
Yep.
Yeah. I didn't feel like signing up for an e-fax system just to send it to them, so I gave them enough crap that finally they said, okay, there's a way you can upload a document. And it's going to say financial statement, but just write us a letter and upload the letter.
Wow.
So that's what I did.
Wow. Yeah, sometimes, they don't get with the time sometimes. Like, just like banking centers, those are unfortunately dying, it seems. Right? Like, it's almost, but you do still have a need to go there for some things. Like, sometimes you need to take money out that they won't let you take out of the machine and stuff like that. So
how much money are you taking out then? What kind of drugs are you buying that like $1,000 isn't enough?
That's a very good question.
That's a funny.
We are near
times are tough. Times are tough.
Well, I have to say, I sometimes get paid in cash because the clubs take it. Maybe it's musicians like getting paid in cash. I'm perfectly happy getting paid by check, but there's a couple of places I work where they just hand me a wad of cash. And I got to go to the bank to deposit it. I don't pay cash for anything, so maybe I'll save $100 and put the rest in the bank. So occasionally, and I'll put checks in an ATM. I'm not that much of a Luddite, but I'm not that fond of putting cash into an ATM.
You don't do the picture. You don't do the picture mobile banking.
You can't. I can do that too, but you can't do that with cash.
No,
take a picture of a 20. Take a picture of the 20 and then send us a video of you burning the 20.
I can't wait till they do that. I cannot wait. I have so much money in there.
Right.
I'm trying to think I think the last time I spoke to a teller was probably, there was something I had to speak to a teller about like a year and a half ago.
Well, the reason why I bring that up, I had to go there recently to take out more than my ATM would allow me to. So that's why I mean, like, they're really pointless.
It was for the hat, right? You had to
for the drugs. Yeah, that's why.
Oh, the hat you're wearing.
Oh yeah, that too. Yeah, exactly.
With all the money that the Cardinals are spending, I could see spending.
Yeah, I had to buy some new players.
Are you into sports at all, Shaun?
Not tremendously.
I think it
brings an end to the conversation.
Sports.
Oh, okay. What's wrong with you?
No, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I've stopped watching much of football recently. Like, we used to do fantasy football every year, but we didn't do it last year because we knew it was going to be. Who knew what it was going to be like, so we didn't even do it. But it's been not much of something we've been watching, at least for myself.
Well, it's like people will say you're a sports fan. Sometimes people ask me if I fish. I say I don't fish because I don't need an excuse to get drunk in a boat. Like, I can drink in a boat without a fishing rod.
So true.
I can get drunk with my friends yelling at the TV without people crashing into each other, for
So
$10
true.
million.
I get it.
Hey, watch comedy and get drunk, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Go to the comedy
Was it
show.
Was it Jerry Seinfeld who said that basically because the teams keep moving and they keep trading players, the only constant is the uniform. So you're basically rooting for a uniform.
Yeah.
And you're wearing a hat, which kind of proves it.
That is true. There's a UFC fighter who used to say that I don't follow laundry. Like I don't vote for Chael Sutton is a UFC fighter. I don't think he fights anymore. But he used to say football is the most stupidest sport ever because all you're doing is rooting for laundry on the field because it's going to change and it's not going to be the same person anymore. And that's all it really is. I was like, wow. When I heard that, I was like, that makes sense.
So he's a big fan of naked sports?
Yeah. Take the clothes off. Yeah, I guess. Maybe.
A good example
I guess
of that would be the New England Patriots. They're
Oh,
now
yeah.
pay Buccaneers, essentially.
Yeah, that is true.
All right. Or I would say that if you're talking about you're rooting for laundry, if it's a UFC fighter, if you're a UFC fan, you're basically rooting for tattoos.
Yeah.
It's just the fighter's just a set of tattoos.
Yeah, that is true. UFC, same thing. Yeah.
Have you ever seen a UFC fighter who's not covered in tattoos?
Is there?
Yeah, really not. Unless they're new up-and-comers.
Yeah.
By the time they're making money, they're full of them.
They haven't got that UFC money yet.
Yeah, because I think of Conor McGregor, right? One of the bigger ones, right? When I first saw him coming up, he didn't really have much because he was a poor guy from Ireland, and then he started kicking butt, and then he started getting all these tattoos, and that's what he was doing. It's almost like they do that to. It's gonna get deep, but maybe they do that to fill something. You know what I mean? Get the tattoos, or there's something to it, or maybe they have the money. Who knows?
I know it's a different sport, but Mike Tyson has a face tattoo. That's kind of
that is true.
But nobody's going to say anything to him.
It's also his crime-fighting companion. If you haven't seen the.
I think somebody's going to say, "Oh, I heard your friend died. What were his last words?" Mr. Tyson, your face tattoo is stupid. That's the end of it.
Yeah.
Have you heard that he's going to fight again?
Oh, again?
Yeah, Evander Holyfield, I think.
Yeah.
It's like, what, are they fighting over a social security check? What's going on?
Right? Exactly.
Evander better have fucking earmuffs, headphones on. Block those ears.
But, I mean, you made mention earlier that, we're deprived for entertainment. It seems like we're also really deprived for nostalgia. We keep bringing, people under 30 are not providing enough value to keep, everyone entertained, that we have to continually go back and pull things from the past.
Yeah.
Well, stand-up comedy on TV now is, a colleague of mine, Josh Homer, said, when I was 25, I wanted to get on television. And they said, "Oh, you got to get 10 more years experience before we can put you on our TV show."
What?
And he came back at 30. When he came back 10 years later, they're like, "Well, now we're looking for 25-year-olds." and that's pretty much it. The people getting on TV now are much younger. But if you think about what a ticket, but that's television. That's the advertisers want the young demographics. But if you think about how much a ticket to see a fight costs, even on pay-per-view, it's expensive. The only people who can afford that are people who remember Mike Tyson and Evander Holyfield.
Yeah.
Very true.
It was a sad purchase when I bought that last fight. I mean, I didn't buy it on my own. It was I put money into the pot to buy it, but that was a sad
Was that like the 90-second fight?
Yeah, it was. It wasn't. Well, no, I think it went the whole way, but when they got to the end, they said it was a draw. So I was
How
like,
could it be a draw?
Exactly.
Nobody if it's a draw,
won.
Keep fighting.
Yeah. So
go to overtime.
Exactly. So it was like
one guy falls asleep. What's the difference?
It was bad. It was not worth it.
I never heard of a draw.
And then what I heard too before we started watching it, they were saying that it was going to be it was planned to be a draw. So I'm like, what? Then what are we doing here? Like, why are we even buying this? Because that was at like a
charity though.
No, I don't think it was. I don't think it was.
Doesn't matter. He paid.
There was other fights that were there which weren't anything that I even wanted to see. Like there was the Nate Robinson and the YouTuber guy that was there. They had the fight, and there was something else, another fight, but it was like none of those were even. I want to see the Mike Tyson fight, so I thought there would be an actual Mike Tyson fight, like a real one, and it was. They just went. They kept jabbing each other. I mean, they were going at each other, and but it was a waste of time.
I think if here's what they should do: if after 12 or 15 rounds there's no winner, they can fight like instead of a 3-minute round, they can fight a 10-minute round. And if there's still no winner, then they tie. Each guy gets one arm tied behind their back.
Oh, I like that. I like that
for 10 minutes. And if there's still no winner, they tie both arms behind their back and they got to headbutt each other until one guy's knocked out.
Well,
I like where this is going.
I want to. Where's the sign up for that pay-per-view fight? Because I will buy it.
Yeah, I think that makes perfect sense.
Yeah. I would watch that.
And if that doesn't work, then their spouses fight.
Oh my god. Okay, what if they have girlfriends?
Spouse, girlfriend, whatever.
Okay, but multiple girlfriends? Is it like a 2-on-1?
He's got to be
one. You have to pick the best one.
That wouldn't be fair, though. That wouldn't be fair if like one guy's married and one guy's a lot of girlfriends. So the girlfriend. All right, listen. I love the logistics here. Let's do it. Okay. So if one is married, obviously one spouse, that's the spouse.
Right.
If the opponent has multiple girlfriends,
which that's probably possible.
Right. Whichever girlfriend is closest in age to the spouse. Make it fair.
You are good. You are good at the numbers. I like it. I like it.
What if there are, say, the rarity that there's one that's born on the same day, same year? Yeah, exactly.
Twins. Oh, wow. That's a lucky gentleman.
Then you toss a coin.
That's a cool one. Wow, we should make this league happen, or this fighting world happen.
Oh, that's when they put us in charge of it.
We should do it. Yeah, I think we have a good case.
Yeah, $1 million idea right here, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Old fighters challenges that takes place into this for sure.
But you know what'll happen if the purse is big enough? The boxer's going to be like, I'm temporarily divorcing my wife and dating like Ronda Rousey or somebody.
Yeah, somebody who can fight. Yeah, I'm dating this chick.
So what kind of rule would we have to put into place to prevent something?
Well, there's legalities there. You have the separation agreement, right? You have to be in place before. We know all the angles, guys. We know all the angles. Us in the financial world, we know how to make things happen.
So what we're going to have to do is it's going to have to be somebody that's been dating for at least 3 months.
Yes, rules like that.
You can't just switch.
And if they're not dating anybody, then do they have a sister?
Oh, kin, a kin law. Another subtext of our agreement.
All right, and if that doesn't work, I don't know what comes after that.
Cousin. Again, first cousin closest in age.
Yeah. Because otherwise you may have a lot of cousins.
Yeah.
Right.
Especially someone, like Mike Tyson or Evander Holyfield. I'm sure they do.
Yes.
All right, well, let's start to wind it down. I have the trash talk can here. We have just a couple questions in here.
If it's who would I rather fight, Evander Holyfield or Mike Tyson?
Oh, that's next week's show. I wish I would have put that one in there before.
So I just asked Shaun what his last Google search was. He doesn't use Google anymore. He uses DuckDuckGo.
Oh, that is a good one. That one is better.
I see, but I don't know whether the search is. Every once in a while I use Google because DuckDuckGo doesn't give me the results I'm looking for. But I just got tired of Google just knowing everything about me and not paying me.
Agreed.
Right.
Especially because I have an Android phone and I have a Gmail account, so they have a lot of information. And Google Maps, so they know a lot about me.
I was going to say that. Are you an Apple user? Because every time now, because I got the newer Apple updated phone or updated whatever software, right? And now every time I go to something, it says allow once. Like anything you do is like allow once, allow always, or some whatever the other option is. But it's like they know like they're now trying to crack down on all that crap people are getting mad about.
Well, that's I guess, and I have an Android. I don't have an Apple phone because let me put it this way: if I had a nickel for everybody who said to me over the course of a year, "Excuse me, do you have an iPhone charger?" I would have enough money to pay for an iPhone because my Android phone, it lasts. It'll last a day and a half if I don't charge.
Oh no, yeah, Apple gets you the other way, like you're saying, basically, because like we're now doing the remote thing, right? And I have we have a mixer for me, and Mark has a mixer, and my laptop doesn't have the converter. I can't plug a USB into my MacBook. I have to have a converter from the USB to the MacBook, just because they need some more money.
So what do you do for a thumb drive? You want to plug in a thumb drive?
I pray that something happens. I don't know. I haven't got that far yet.
He has to get a Google Drive, so Google gets more information.
So Google gets Google gets the information, and then I can't plug anything in, and it's all someone paying somebody to make something happen.
This is why he was obsessed with the paper earlier.
Oh yeah, that's your sticky notes on your computer is the way of life. Is how it should be.
Well, I have thumb drives in my car because I listen to podcasts when I drive. Back in the days when I was driving a lot, and so I put it all on a thumb drive. So I'm constantly dealing with thumb drives.
That's awesome.
Now I could put it on my phone and plug my phone in, but I don't bother plugging my phone in when I get into the car. So
right,
just one less thing I have to deal with.
There you go. Well,
so what was the trash talk? Sorry. Or did you guys do it already? It doesn't matter.
I really didn't do a good job.
Yeah, we did not.
I don't think I answered either question. He asked the worst thing I ever did when drunk.
Yes.
I don't remember.
Smart.
Actually, I said I deleted Scott from the podcast. That's what I did.
Nicely done. Nicely done.
And then the question is, what was my last Google search? Do you remember your last Google search?
Mine's all crypto based. So
yeah.
Me and Scott are diving into the crypto world, and I'm learning
we're trying to be miners. Which again,
is there a way on Google to see what your last search was?
Just look at your history.
Oh, okay. Hold on. History.
Look. So tell us the third one down, because the first two are probably bad.
Oh, yeah, but it's not giving my Google search history. I just went to my browser history. How do I find my Google search history?
Oh, I don't know. I guess maybe go to.
You'll be able to click on the.
I was gonna say go to Google, but you don't have that. Maybe okay.
Oh, you know what? I'm on Google. Hold on. How? I'm gonna ask Google how to find Google search history.
So
if find Google search history, go to Google account.
If you click the search box, a drop down will come up of your last searches.
I can tell you on my phone.
It's not doing that, but it's saying Google data personalization activity, but it may get deleted. So account data and personalization.
Yeah, mine was crypto stuff or a UPS tracking of a package, which was again UPS related or crypto mining related.
Oh.
And then what was the other question?
What was the last or what was the most embarrassing thing you did drunk?
Oh, all right. I'll say it, guys. I'll say it. I had a drunken episode one time where I got up in the middle of the night and thought the corner of my room was the bathroom.
I don't think that's uncommon.
No, it's not. But my wife thought it was uncommon. So that was a great time.
So I'll take another question if you want to continue to try to embarrass me.
Ooh.
I'm not trying to type these questions. I just don't remember.
Let's see what we got.
That means Shaun, you actually did that as well.
No. I've never pissed in the corner of your bedroom.
Oh, nicely done.
Nicely
that
done
you
playing
remember.
that angle. Nicely
Right?
done.
That your wife got upset about.
'Cause you went, okay, so hold on. You came in my room, peed in the corner, and my wife yelled at me for it. Nicely done.
No, I mean, you peed in the wrong corner.
But yeah. I didn't pee in my corner. That makes sense.
Right.
Very good one. Pick one. You have to pick one. Forget someone's name or make small talk to kill an awkward silence.
What?
So
I don't understand the
these
question.
are basically awkward situations. So which one would you have to pick as far as, would you pick forget, like you meet someone and you don't remember their name, you have to be like, hey, buddy.
I hate that.
Yeah, me too. And then there was the other one. What was the other one? Was basically...
Make small talk to kill the awkward silence.
yeah.
I'd rather make the small talk. I'll find something to talk about.
Yeah.
Much more embarrassing.
And-
Much more embarrassing.
And hey, buddy.
Yeah, I don't do that to make it
What do you do on your trying to figure out their name?
I only go to places where people wear name tags.
Ah, smart.
Corporate
Nice.
event.
Corporate event.
Or just,
Got a full circle.
I'm sorry, I forgot your name.
Oh,
I'm Shaun. I'm Shaun.
that is brilliant. Maybe I should do that. Be more upfront with it. Oh, I don't remember your name.
Listen, and you shouldn't be embarrassed about that because everybody does that.
Shaun, you're right. Dang it. I feel bad though.
but
Like
we're
I feel like I should remember people's names.
Right?
Well, try to remind yourself. So when you meet somebody, just say, there's all sorts of standard advice.
Mole on the face. Your moly face. Melinda. Something like that.
Yeah. Or I was going to say, there's a mark on Mark's face, and Scott reminds me of toilet paper. Either way, remember your name.
Brilliant.
Well, every
I
time
love
Sean thinks of P now, he's going to think of Scott.
Oh yeah, you might. Yeah, I'm not gonna.
Well, there's a problem with that because my brother's name is Scott.
Oh, so you automatically don't like me.
And later today, I'm going to go to his house and be there.
Nice.
But not in their bedroom.
Yeah,
Not in their
yeah.
bedroom.
That's not your corner. You rub Scott's face in it. No, Scott, that's not your corner.
Does that work?
I don't
with
know.
I've never done it.
I've never done that either.
Probably works better with people.
Exactly. So try that later. Let us know how that goes.
I have a toddler. I'll try it tonight.
Nice.
Germans would think it is a good thing.
Some kind of kink
They-
for that.
They
Oh,
they had a lot of.
You want me to?
Sorry, go ahead.
You want me to poop in the corner? Okay, I'll keep doing it.
Nice.
Do you have anything coming up or anything that you would like to promote?
Anything coming
Nice.
up? Yes. I'm headlining every single place tomorrow.
Nice. Mark with the
From the living room.
score.
Have anything coming up? I'm having dinner at my brother's house tonight.
And you're gonna-
let me look at my.
And you're gonna.
I have a Google Calendar. Yeah, I'm going to go to my Google Calendar now. So dinner at Scott's tonight. Tomorrow, no. I'm going to cut my own hair on Monday. Let's see.
What do you use? Is it a suck cut?
What?
No. It's just a regular, the same thing barbers
Okay,
use. Only
okay,
probably not
good.
fancy.
I use it.
Here's the embarrassing thing. I've never admitted this in public before, but at the beginning of the pandemic, my hair was getting long and it didn't look good. And
Were you doing?
I
doing
didn't.
this a lot?
No, it wasn't
The
that
wind?
bad. It wasn't that long.
No.
It just didn't look. Yeah, it wasn't that long. It just didn't look good. And when my parents died, I discovered they had, the Braun electric clippers, and I just stuffed them in the basement, figuring I'm not throwing them out. Maybe I'll need them
Right.
if there's a pandemic in 5 years. And I said, I'm just going to try shortening my hair a little.
Right.
And I put the widest guide, the number 8, which is an inch.
Yeah.
And I started trying to trim a little bit, and then I'm like, there's no way I can do this evenly. Screw it, I'm just going to do my whole head. And I cut my hair like just an inch all around. I just kept going back and forth and around. So all of my hair was an inch long. And I'm like, okay, it's going to look stupid, but eventually I'll be able to get a real haircut. And I went and I looked in the mirror, and I'm like, this is one of the better haircuts I've had. Why am I paying somebody $20 to spend 20 minutes with scissors when I can do this in 2 minutes in the backyard?
Yes. Exactly. Cut out the middleman.
I have a conversation with myself every time I go to the barber.
Well, I had a friend who cut his hair, and he used one of those floaty things.
Yeah.
And he said it's great. It saves. Well, he's also phenomenally cheap, but he's like, it saves $20, and you don't have to go to the barber. And I'm like, you cut your own hair. That's stupid as hell.
And now you're on board. Now you're on board.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So you can't tell with the headphones on. My
No,
hair
nice. Looks nice.
look
Looks nice.
that good.
Nice.
But this is the best.
You know what?
What?
It looks pandemic nice. I like it.
Yeah, pandemic nice. It's the best I can do with the hair I have.
I like it.
Well, you did mention that you were booking shows and things like that, or starting to entertain the idea. Do you have any shows that are coming out in the next couple months?
I have nothing. I have no public. I have Zoom shows for some private organizations. I have no public shows and no in-person shows, at least for the next couple of months. But I will probably be back at the Fairfield Theater in Connecticut, the Emlyn Theater in New York, Sharon Playhouse in Connecticut, and some other places, Black Rock Center in Maryland. Once things open up, I will probably be at Sellersville Theater in Pennsylvania once things open up again, but right now I've got nothing.
And we can always find you at brainchampagne.com.
Brainchampagne.com. Yep.
Yes.
Awesome.
It says it right
Yep.
there.
Boom. There we. Yep.
Right there.
You got it.
I have a lot of jokes and videos on my website.
Yes, I saw those. Those are very funny. A lot of the Jay Leno stuff too. I thought I saw on there too.
But yeah, there's a page there called Expired Comedy. I took all the jokes I've been writing for 2 decades for late night TV that they didn't buy, and I just said, some of these are dated, but what the hell else am I going to do with the ones I didn't sell?
Yeah.
So there's 50,000 words worth of jokes.
Oh my god,
that's a lot of jokes.
Wow. You know what we need to do, Mark? We need to take one a week and do it.
Trying to pitch it.
Just do one. No, not the pitch it. Just do it on our show, one a week. One of Shaun's joke. This was 1994.
All right, you gotta give me $1.
Oh yeah, we'll send you $1. For
Just
sure.
send us your rider.
Yeah. Hey, Leno paid a lot more than $1, but I'll let you guys have
Oh,
$1.
Shaun.
They're old and moldy.
Oldie moldies. We'll take them.
If you get me booked at the Tempe Improv, you can have them.
Yes.
Oh, there we go. Again, we'll hit. We actually are.
We know somebody that works there, so
Yeah.
Is he the booker?
we'll say yes.
He is good. He's good. He's good friends with the actual booker, but
Is he the dentist at the comedy club? What does he do there?
He's a fluffer. He's a fluffer at the comedy club, so I don't know what that means. But
good description. I mean, he does a little bit of everything. From
yeah, he's on like security and door stuff, and he's a presence there, and he's been there for a while up until things took a tumble. But
we're actually coordinating a live show with him in mid-April at a different venue that essentially he runs. Like he hosts and does all this other stuff. So yeah, I can definitely pass your name over to him to let him know.
All right, that'd be great.
definitely.
This has been the Amigos PC. Make sure to like, subscribe, and review us on all your podcasting platforms. Visit us at amigospc.net for our entire library of content and Amigos merch. Till next time, adios.